Let's check out what tools you can use to cut your iron or aluminum fence panels. Hey everyone, Jason from Iron Fence Shop. The fence industry typically makes iron and steel panels in 8-foot widths and aluminum panels in 6-foot widths. Now what this means is typically your layout's probably not going to work where they all fall in place in full sections and you don't have to make any cuts. Luckily, all of them are made to be cut. So today what I wanted to do is take a look at some tools you can use to cut your iron and aluminum fence panels. Now before we jump into the tools, let's take a look at exactly what we're cutting on the fence panel. What I've got here is our signature grade iron piece and a signature grade aluminum piece. Now if you're using our traditional grade, it's going to be about the same, just with some smaller railing, but let's take a closer look at exactly what it is you're cutting through on the panel. Let's start with our Stronghold Iron piece here. When you measure out your panel to cut, you're going to be cutting through this horizontal rail right here. On our iron pieces, this is an 1/8 inch thick piece of metal. If we get a little closer at a side angle, you can see the railing shape that you're cutting through right here. Now let's take a look at our Infinity aluminum piece. Same thing here, just a little different shape and thickness. On our aluminum pieces, it's a 0.1 or 0.07 wall depending on the grade. Now if we get a little closer at the side angle, you can see the railing shape that you're cutting here, a little different from the iron. Now one thing to note on the aluminum is if you cut a panel, you'll need to cut this little notch into the rail at the end. That's so it'll be able to fit into your post punch. Now it should go without saying, but make sure you're wearing protective gear when using tools like this and cutting your metal fence panels. Make sure you have eye protection, hand protection, ideally no open-toed shoes, and no bare exposed skin. Now this is not meant to be an all-inclusive list of tools that can be used to cut the fence panels. These are just the most common ones people either have around or can rent easily. Other tools can be used. Now the packaging for your tool or blade should tell you if it's rated to cut metal, but let's take a closer look at what a metal blade looks like versus a more common wood or plastic cutting blade. This blade here is a wood or plastic rated blade. You can see it has bigger blade teeth and wider spacing along it. Now if we look at our metal rated blade here, you can see that the teeth are much smaller and closer together. Now let's take a closer look at some cutting tool options that use this metal rated blade. Let's go ahead and start with our least expensive option. Good old hacksaw. Very basic and simple tool most people have. If not, you can find it at pretty much any home hardware store. Now this is going to give you the most control because you're going to be setting the speed of the cut as you go. However, if you're looking for a good arm workout, that's going to also give you that, as you're going to have to make a lot of slow cuts with this. Now one thing to keep in mind, if you've got a small project, maybe only a couple cuts to make, this will probably get the job done and work just fine for you. You can also get these little compact options, so if you're having a hard time getting between pickets on some of our puppy picket options, these fit in there terrific as well. Okay, next up is a sawzall or reciprocating saw. This is probably one of my favorite tools. It makes very fast and easy cuts. Now it's not the most precision instrument, but it will get your cuts done a lot faster. Now if it's not something you want to add to your tool collection, it is something you can find easily at any kind of home rental store or tool rental place like that. Now one thing you want to make sure of when you use this tool is start slowly. Get a groove into the metal, and once you've got a nice groove in there, then you can pick up speed and cut faster. That'll give you a nice, quick, fast cut, although not always the most precision cut. Next up is an angle grinder or disc grinder. Again, this is a great tool for cutting at a high rate of speed. However, if this is not a tool you've used in the past, it's not something I recommend for beginners. You're going to have a lot of sparks flying, and it's something that moves at a high rate of speed and can get out of hand very quickly. Our last tool here is more of an honorable mention and accessory than a direct cutting tool, and that's the dremel or rotary cutting tool. These are good if you're just going to have to make a really quick small cut, clean up a burr or clean up a bad cut, straighten something out, but they're not something I necessarily use to cut through the entire panel just due to the thickness. However, they are a great and handy tool, especially if you're an aluminum customer and you need to make that little notch at the bottom there to go into your post. Now when it comes to cutting your fence panels, the best advice I can give you is don't get overly worried about them being perfect. Chances are one of them's going to get away from you, be a little crooked, not come out exactly like you want. Luckily on both the iron and aluminum fence, there's some provisions that are likely going to hide it and you're not even going to see it anyway. So let's take a look at our iron piece over here. Now once you cut your iron piece, you're going to make sure you touch up the end here. We don't want to leave any bare exposed metal. Let's say that cut got a little crooked. Keep in mind that your bracket's about 1 inch deep, so once you slide this on, you're going to cover that cut up anyway. You're not going to see anything. Now if we go over to our aluminum piece here, keep in mind that a portion of that aluminum fence goes inside the post. So if we take our post here, we take our little piece of aluminum, keep in mind that's going to slide inside there. So if your cut's a little crooked, once that slides in, you're not going to see it. Don't get worried about everything being perfect. A lot of times you're not even going to notice it once it's all done and installed. Now after cutting your fence panel, if your iron bracket doesn't want to go on or you're having trouble getting the aluminum piece to slide into the post, you might have to clean the cut up a little bit. A nice simple tool for that is just a file. Just basically take it on there, take off any rough edges or burrs that might just be a little bit of metal holding you up. You can also use your rotary or Dremel tool as well and use that to kind of polish up the cut. Usually once you take that rough edge off, it'll slide in with no problem. I hope this video has helped illustrate some of the common tools you can use to cut your fence panels. Be sure to check us out at ironfenceshop.com. Now, if you're not sure if you want an iron or an aluminum fence, you're still in that part of the decision-making process, check this video out we did showing the pros and cons of both. Now, if you still have questions, feel free to shoot us an email at sales@ironfenceshop.com or give us a call at 800-261-2729. We look forward to hearing from you.